Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our Client Success Training webinar today, hosted by LEAP's Client Success team. At our webinar today, we are joined by Badr from Estatesearch. Whether you're already in Estatesearch or would like to learn more about the functionalities, this webinar will show you the strategies and features to maximize efficiency. Before we get started, let's go through a couple of initial housekeeping items. Today's training session will run for approximately 45 minutes in listen-only mode. We welcome all participants to enter questions into the chat window as they arise, and if we do not answer them during the presentation, we have allotted some time at the end to address them. A recording of this session will be made available after the presentation and will be emailed to all registrants. Without further ado, I will pass it on to Ron.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Vanessa, if you could just give me the ability to share, and I've just got a few slides today, and then we can get into the demo. Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen, and you should be able to see that now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Great thanks to our great partner Leap for giving us time today to talk about our integrated service. And before we start with the demo, I'd like to give you a brief introduction of Estatesearch for those of you who don't know what we do. I'll talk about our history and why we do what we do, and then what we do. So Estatesearch has been operating in the UK for about 8, almost 9 years, and in Canada for the past 2 years. We launched our Canadian service in 2024 and have been supporting the Canadian legal market ever since. So in the UK, our financial profile search has become a standard due diligence report used by estate practitioners to identify the assets and liabilities of a deceased individual. So as you know, executors have a fiduciary duty to conduct this type of search, and our report is an essential tool used by firms when they act as executor, as well as a service they offer to their clients when acting on behalf of executors. So our service has been expanding in Canada and growing and becoming entrenched among our estate practitioners. The financial profile search is comprehensive and searches over 170 Canadian financial institutions. So that includes banks, trust companies, credit unions, insurance companies, pension plans, and share registrars. It's simple to use, and all the information is completed online through the Leap InfoTrack platform. Our service is pay as you go. There's no subscription fees or minimum spends, and our account is free to set up. And if you're using it through the Leap platform, all billing will be done through Leap. So we host a series of webinars, and our most popular is called Canada's Missing Billions. In it, we explore the digital shift. We discuss the transition from traditional paper-based systems to digital platforms, a change that has significantly reduced paper trails and, as a result, made asset discovery more challenging. We highlight that the largest demographic today is digital first. In addition, we examine how inadequate estate planning and the failure to inform next of kin or future executors of all the assets. This has contributed to a significant amount of unclaimed funds remaining within the Canadian financial system. We estimate that there is between $10 billion and $20 billion in unclaimed assets in Canada. Our research has uncovered how this breaks down, and we have a full session on Canada's Missing Billions, which we'd be happy to present to your team. It's accredited by the LSO, Law Society of Ontario, for 30 minutes of CPD. So what does our service do? As I said, we reach out to over 170 Canadian financial institutions. It also includes a TransUnion credit search. We also have the ability to search other jurisdictions. Since we had started in the UK, of course, that's available. The US, Hong Kong, France, Italy, and more jurisdictions to come. We can also do a digital asset search, where we look for crypto online trading and online gambling. And then outside of our financial profile search, we also, in Ontario, can offer estate bonds. We're seeing, especially in Toronto, these bonds have been generally waived in the past, but we're seeing them being waived less and less in Toronto. So we have a surety account executive based here in Canada, in London, Ontario, and he does estate administration bonds, foreign executor bonds, guardianship bonds, lost instrument bonds, and now he does vacant property insurance, or unoccupied property insurance is also available. So we'd be happy to discuss that with you as well. And of course, we have a great partnership with Leap. Okay, so we're in the Leap platform now, and Vanessa's going to find a file. Sorry, I'm just going to turn off my camera so it makes my screen a little bit bigger. So there's an estate administration file, and then I guess you'll click on that, and it will open up the platform, going into your searching and services. And then selecting asset and liability search. So our platform is standalone, but the great thing is, as a Leap user, you can stay within the platform and do everything here. Everything is tracked. Your matter number is tracked, and it's billed to your matter number. So what you see there is we're selecting the financial profile report. You can also add the search for digital assets as well for the additional cost. So there's two types of searches we do, either bereavement, where the individual is deceased, or mental capacity. Now, that's the only time we'll do a search on a living person, as the person has been declared mentally incapable. There's a guardian and a power of attorney. But certainly most of our files relate to a deceased individual. So in this instance, you're going to tell us whether they died with a will or without a will. So if you could please select, for this example, bereavement testing. And then under the authorization, are you the person granting the legal authority? This is generally the lawyer. So if the lawyer is filling this out, it would be yes. If it's their clerk or paralegal, you can select no, and then select the lawyer as well. But let's just do yes for the purposes of our example. Then you're going to say whether you are the executor, or you're acting on behalf of the executor. And I know some firms act as executor, but in most instances are acting on behalf of an executor that's come in as a client. So we're going to select your firm is acting on behalf, is in action on behalf of the executor. Okay, so in terms of an authority to act, so this is where you'll need to upload some sort of proof that you are either the executor or acting on behalf of an executor. Either a copy of a will, a grant of probate. The most common is a client care letter, and this would be a letter saying, I am the executor in the case of John Smith. I've hired ABC law firm to act on my behalf, and that would be signed by the client. So if you click, for example, client care letter, you'll be able to drag and drop that into the area or browse. It's a simple upload of that letter. And these letters are very basic and straightforward. We've seen retainer letters. We've seen simple letters as well. We do not send those along, but we keep them on file. Now, the subject details, this is the particulars of the deceased. So you would enter in their given name, middle name, surname. I don't know if you want to, Vanessa, if you want to click in there and just, like a John Smith kind of thing, just to fill out some of those fields. There's a title. You can also select the gender, and then the subject's last known address. So you would enter in, their street number. Sorry, I think that's just a number you would enter in there, Vanessa. Yeah, and then the street address, the street name, and then city, town. Select the province, postal code, and then the date of birth of the deceased, and the date of death. And you can, I believe you can either type that in or select it all from the calendar. And now this is the statement of death, or sorry, this is the evidence of death document, pardon me. Sorry, it's a little small on my screen. Again, so this is some sort of proof of death. So generally, this is a government death certificate issued by a province. It could be a foreign death certificate as well, so long as it's issued by the government. A statement of death from the funeral director, some sort of proof of death that something issued by the government as well is acceptable. We've seen everything, Solicitor General proof of death, where the body's being held for an autopsy, that sort of thing. So something official that will be a proof of death. And then the other is, so you would just upload that, either drag and drop or browse the file. Now, the appointment of estate search, this is a letter signed by the law firm, by the lawyer, authorizing estate search to reach out to the financial institutions on their behalf. So we will send this appointment of estate search and the evidence of death out to our financial institutions. There's a copy of the template there of the letter of authority. We ask that you put this on your letterhead and then have the lawyer sign it. And so it's a pretty straightforward letter, and then same thing, you will drag and drop it into that field there. And now any additional information, this is especially in instances of common names, any additional information that you can help us out, provide us is helpful. So mobile number and email address, I highly recommend adding this if you have it, especially when we're searching for digital assets. A lot of those, so crypto, online trading, online gambling, a lot of those accounts are set up either using a phone or an email address. And so that is helpful information. The next is, previously known as or aliases, previous names, maiden names, anglicized names. So you would just keep adding those, and you'll see that opened up the field at the bottom, and so you can add that in. Previous address, again, this is super helpful. Maybe their last known address was in a long-term care facility, and so they may have not updated their address with all their financial institutions. So if there's a previous address and you have that, again, that's helpful to add that in there. And then previous employers as well. Any, sometimes organizations track people or ask for their occupation and where they've worked. So again, that's a unique identifier. Trading name, we do not do a corporate search. This is a search on individuals, but if they were a sole proprietor or the sole shareholder of a corporation, you can enter in that business name. We'll add it to our search, but just know that that's sort of additional information. We're not necessarily searching the name of the corporation. We're searching the name of the deceased. And then towards the bottom, you will accept the terms and conditions and then place the order. So once you place the order, it comes in through our team. So we have an administration team that looks through. They double check it before we send it out, because we like to send out our notices only once per file. And so what'll happen is they'll review it, make sure, sometimes people transpose the month and the day for date of birth or date of death. So we make sure that information matches up, make sure that you've uploaded the proper documentation. We've seen things uploaded twice in error. So our team does a manual review before we send it out, and we'll let you know if anything else is required. So what happens then? So we send it out. Part of the search is a TransUnion credit search. So that happens right off the bat. Oftentimes that picks up additional addresses and that sort of thing, which we can add and include in our notice out to the financial institutions. So then what we'll do is we'll send out our notice, as I said, to those 170 plus Canadian financial institutions. And what do we ask? We ask if records exist. So we're basically looking for a relationship that financial institution may have had with the deceased. So I want to highlight here, this is an inquiry we're making, and we're asking them if they have a relationship. We're not asking for account numbers. We're not asking for account balances. There'd be a lot more requirements for that. So what we are doing is we're aiding you in your due diligence in your search for the assets and liabilities of the deceased. We don't ask what type of account it is, so we're asking for a yes or no. We're casting a wide net to help you focus on positive matches. And so we produce the report in 30 business days, and I'll show you an example of what the report looks like. But we notify you of positive matches as we get them. So, for example, if you send out this report on day 5 or day 6, Scotiabank says, yeah, there's a match. What'll happen is you'll be notified that there's a match. Then you'll come here, log in, and whatever we get from the financial institution, we just turn into a PDF and attach, and that way from there you'll pick it up. So some of these where records exist. Some of them provide a little bit more information than others, but we do our best to work with the financial institutions so that when there is a record and when there is a match, that they at least provide you with a person or a contact to be able to pick it up from there. So from there, you'll pick it up. You'll have to provide maybe some more evidence and some more proof that they'll require, oftentimes notarized copies of will, probate, that sort of thing. And so they'll assist you from there in terms of dealing with that. And then, as I said, on the after 30 business days, you'll receive a notification that the report is ready. And so, if you don't mind, Vanessa, what I'll do is if you can give me access to share again. I'll share. There we go. I'm going to share my screen. So this is what our financial profile report looks like. This is a real report where we've redacted information. So on the first page, you'll see it'll be relating to the estate of the individual, account numbers, the date that you pulled this report, whatever date you pull it, this will be the date. And then what we do is, this is all the details you've entered in terms of the individual, last known address, date of birth, date of death, and the date you actually submitted the search. So like I said, regardless of, usually it's 30 business days, but you may pull this report after 50 business days, whatever it is, this will show the date of the report, whatever day you pull it. This company name and office will be your firm information. And you'll see here, we summarize where we found the matches. So in this instance, we had 7 matches. The next page, personal details. So any additional name and address information that's been added. And then what we do is we summarize where we found the matches. So in this instance, there was a couple of hits with credit unions, with PC Bank, NAV Canada, I think is insurance, a Bank of Nova Scotia, and of course the TransUnion credit search. So a couple of these appear on the TransUnion report, so we identify that, and where we have contact information, we'll add that in there as well. And then what we do is list for you every organization that we have sent out this notice and we've made an inquiry with. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty substantive list, and it goes right across Canada. So we've got pension funds, you see we've got Montreal and Alberta here, trust companies, insurance companies, Aviva's Insurance, Bank of China, this is the Canadian branches of the Bank of China Canada. We've got BMO here. You see we've got some Quebec cases in there as well. There are credit unions, pension plans. You see CompuShare. We ask CompuShare, TSX, and Odyssey Trust is included as well. And then you just go through and you can see it's a fairly exhaustive list of financial institutions. And like I said, it's credit unions right across the country, the banks, so not just the big 5, but also the smaller banks as well. Stuff like, although this is traditionally an online digital asset, we've included Questrade and I believe Wealthsimple in here as well, because they're more common now as banks and as financial institutions. But we do have an additional 50 or so digital assets. If you've selected that, We'll make the same inquiry with them. Do you have records of the deceased? Basically, do you have a relationship with the deceased? And those are institutions like Kraken, Crypto.com, Coinsquare, that kind of thing as well. So this is what the report looks like, and this is the proof that you've done your due diligence on looking for the assets and liabilities of the deceased. And as I said, this report is completed after 30 business days. So that's the service. As I said, it's simple and efficient. It's comprehensive. We reach out to more financial institutions than you'd ever imagine doing yourself. And I think as the world has changed, and like I said off the top, there's less and less of a paper trail. There's also, not everyone does efficient financial planning. Not everyone tells their friends or their family or friends or children, spouses, what they all have. Also, people forget. People change jobs. People move and forget to update information. We can go into this in a great amount of details. We said, there's a lot of money sitting there in unclaimed assets in Canada. And I do want to highlight as well that this is a financial search. We search for financial assets. We're not looking for people. We have partners that can do that for you, but we don't look for people, and we don't look for real property as well. It's strictly financial assets. So that's my portion. And as I said, you can the first time you order, you can go through Leap. We'll take care of things on the back end for us. And as I said, all the invoicing and billing is done through InfoTrack, and you'll receive the bills there. So that's it for me. And